Good morning, Rabbi Beitzah. Ay, ay, ay. We got to do it again. L'ilui nishmas imi mirasi, Rusmas Mordechai, sponsor, Parnas HaChodesh, Shmuly Hecht, in honor of Dovid Zlatnik, F200, Akiva Sulkowitz, F94, Sholom F202, Shmuly Davidowitz, B202, and the official Daf Yomi committee by Mordechai Abramovitz. For Shloimy, for Yitzchak Ben Gila, currently in the ICU with a brain hemorrhage after being struck by a car as a pedestrian. His son, Alan Shmuly, is part of the MDY family who joined the shir at the start of the Masechah Sukkah. By Shloimy Klein, the Shmuel Zaahnville, in loving memory of my dear grandfather, Rabbi Shimon Goldman, sole survivor of his illustrious. What? Oh, it's happening. We have a new switchboard, and I guess Zoom is gonna have issues. Sole survivor of his illustrious family, despite all odds, he raised a beautiful family of shomrai. Rabbi, if you're on Zoom, I think you should move over to YouTube for today at least. Oh, you got it to work now. Despite all odds, he raised a beautiful family of shomrai Torah mitzvois, dedicated his life to chesed, communal affairs, and his loving family. Email by Phil Sanzer. I began to watch the Art Scroll interview you did. The first thing I noticed were your polka dotted socks. So
it was the first thing I noticed too.
It was the first thing you have to notice. I didn't realize, as bizarreness, the Meaningful People interview was just, face shots. The Art Scroll, they took a long shot as well. Had I known, I would have worn a nicer pair maybe. Now, MDY socks. So this is what the socks look like. And literally, this is from this morning. It's online on one of the sites. Which Rav wears these socks when giving shir? I'm not kidding. Here's Yeshiva World News. It's in Yeshiva World News right now. If you go on Yeshiva World News, you'll see it. Some guy in New York is trying to embarrass me.
You might have dethroned Jeff Seidel now. The saddle shoes?
Yeah, those shoes. Oh, Baruch Hashem. Just what I was wanting. Yeah, all the years. How many shurim can say that the Magid wears socks that would have most bochum sent home from yeshiva? Good for you. Secondly, per the slipcover of the Davidowitz, it said that you decided to decline the Sima Shas in MetLife Stadium for fear of being declared Mashiach. But from the interview, it's been revealed that you were edited out of the Art Scroll for sure. This will definitely hurt your Gaiva credentials. And then he goes on to say, he's speaking to somebody over Yontiv, and the guy was knocking Daf Yomi. He said, if somebody had an hour to learn, you should rather spend it delving into the Rishonim and Achronim and sit on the Sugi for weeks, like the day spent in Yeshiva. I countered that while there is value in that, by spending weeks and months on a Sugi, you lose tons of high-level knowledge that is contained in the Torah. He said that this is what the Mishnah Brewer is for. I think it would be beneficial if you address this for your pre-Rosh Hashanah Daf Yomi intro. Okay, we're not going to get into it. I mean, there's different styles of learning. I'm not knocking any different style. Each one has pros and cons. And the main mile of Daf Yomi is that it's consistent and it's every day. A few months ago, you highlighted my picture on the Zoom commenting about my cap. Now remember, the guy with the interesting cap. My head is still available to advertise the shir. Just send me an MDY cap. I recruited a number of people to the shir. Yeshkoyach. So, Rabbi Yisai, today, as of this morning, we are at 475 new people that joined the shir, 75 just today. But what's very interesting is that this raffle, the raffle to come to Eretz Yisrael and enjoy a MDY tour, and the raffle to win a brand new Art Scroll Shas, guess how many entries there are for that raffle? Very, very low. It's only 235 entries. So your chances are really, really high. So get a friend. If you don't want to come to Eretz Yisrael or you live already in Eretz Yisrael, I think there's a $5,000 value to that whole package. Not the Shas, just the...
I think people don't know that they're supposed to go to a certain website.
join.dafyomi.com is the website here that I have. No.
Once you get a friend to join, it's grow the shit.
What is it called?
growtheshir.com.
Growtheshir.com. Thank you. Katriel Kantorovich. You guys remember Katriel? He was the one that I honored to make the siyum. It was his first siyum. He was in his 40s, first siyum ever. I'm a Masechta Sukkah. It was very emotional. So he brought somebody to share. Solomon Gluckman, Shlomo Ben Zaken, Mordechai Abramovitz. Where is he? He was here this morning? Yeah. Evan Hendel, Daniel Green, Eddie Balin, Yogi Lushinsky. Psh, Yogi. Do I know Yogi? He was at your siyum that you made on Masechta Yuma by the Kaisel. You don't remember Neoni? Fivish, I'm not making this up. His last name, Fivish Hatzioni. Shmuly Hecht, Chaim Lowenstein. Yitzi Fivish is on Zoom every day. If you want to see Fivish Hatzioni, look, he has a black hat and a kippas ruga. He mamish fits the shir beautifully. He dances in all chasanas. Yitzi Reitzik, Vinci and Halberstam. Moshe Handler, Teddy Sher, Natan Cohen, David Handler, Chaim Gwartzman, Yishkoya Chaim. Oh, there's more. Moshe Nassian. Naftali Weinberg, Yisrael Goldstein once again. If anybody wants to know why, I asked Yisrael, how'd you do it? So he says like this. This is his car, one of them. There are two cars like this in New York. They look very similar. They're both Pacificas, but one is a newer model. This one is 8 min daf with one F, and this is 8 min daf with two Fs. I happen to have, also from New York, 8 min daf, but mine is a fake. Mine is a 1. So I'm looking to get this one. Rabbi, if anybody could rip Yisrael Goldstein off and bring me his license plate, it would be very much appreciated. He walks around with this, he drives around with that, with the jacket, and people come over to him, Hasidim come over to him. Or regular people, but what? California one is really cool. Oh, Mark Siegelman, Idan Moshkevitz, Elishama Gottfreund. And Rabbi Sai, listen to this. People stepped up yesterday. Baruch Hashem. It's not going to cost me that much anymore. Abba Rennert, 10 Gemaras. Howard Hahn, 10. Mordechai Iluz, Jacob Hirsch. Listen to this. Roland Alexander Yeshua Friedman, 50 Gemaras again from Frankfurt, Hessen, Frankfurt, Hessen. From Germany. Goldberg and Company, LLP, 25 Gemaras in New York. Valdic stuff. Okay, shkoyach, guys. What's this? Massive yishkoyach, it says here. Massive thank you by Nachum Stauber. I've been with MDY since Pesachim. I feel like I want to be an active part of MDY Mishpoch. I usually watch the show on YouTube, but since Rosh Hashanah, I've been making an effort to join Zoom. So I want to start by saying Shalom Aleichem to you and the whole MDY family. I feel like I already know you all. It's amazing to see how much the share has grown. Since joining, my learning has never been the same. The way you explain everything with charts and good avira, I thought it's an avera, but now I have. A good avira makes learning the daf so much fun. I really look forward to it every day. My 4-year-old son and 1-year-old twins look forward to you. Good morning, Rabbi Isai, and for its geschmack to learn the daf song. The achdus is incredible, and you really are everyone's magid cheer. So thank you so much, and I have so much hakaras to you and bless you. And everyone continue to change many lives like you changed mine. Listen to this again. And may you continue to change many lives like you changed mine. Can't wait to meet you all in person. Nachum Stauber, Chashmonaim. Do we have time for one more? Oh, one of the bonuses learning Daf Yomi is the siyumim. As we finish this together, I keep track of all those who finish. Those are doing siyum. Oh, we got to talk about the siyum. What is it? Sunday night? In my house? In my house. A barbecue kumzitz in my house. It's going to be one of a kind. If you haven't been to my porch on Sukkot 5 times, come for the 6th time. Last night, in honor of my shvers, Rebbe Osher Zelik Posner's 14th years had our children, grandchildren, gathered together, made a siyum on Masechta Sukkah. In Eretz Yisrael, this siyum will have lasting impression on my children and grandchildren of the love and chavivus of learning Torah. Your hashpah has a ripple effect on so many levels, including those who are not regular participants in your shiur. Looking forward to being signed many more Masechtas together. Shlomo Rosenzweig, Toronto. Here's Reb Shlomo Rosenzweig learning Torah. Yes. What about the screen? You can't see. Okay, very good. Here we go, Rabbi Sai. We're in the top word. Oh, I have a very important announcement to make. This is very, very exciting. Today, the koilel, the MDY koilel, and again, I'll explain what this is. People ask me all the time. MDY koilel gives back to MDY, helps MDY on many different levels. Eventually, they're going to be learning in this building right now. This building is used by yeshiva for another 9 months. They're going to be here. It's going to be a community koilel where people could step in. Avi Kamiansky used to learn with them, different people. Mendy Orbach goes every single day and learns with them. I learn with them. And they help the shir in many different levels. They if I have any shilas, any questions, I talk it through with them the hour that I'm there. etc., etc. They give me ideas, stories. It's today. They don't mess around. Today they're taking a test on 600 daf of Gemara. 600 daf. Could anybody fathom what that means? To remember 600 daf. What? Closed book. Closed book, and not a simple test. A very difficult test. Leiby's here. There's no multiple choice. This is the real deal. And there are guys that are scoring in the 90s on 600 daf. It's a big thing. So I wish them luck, and yishkoyach to them. Beitzah Hashem, they're going to join our siyum on Sunday night on my porch, weather permitted. All right, so listen, Shah, I'm giving the shir here, Avi.
Just want to know if we should be excited.
Are you sponsoring?
He's sponsoring the wine. He sponsors the wine. Everything will be okay. Says the Gemara. Again, we're in the middle of a sugya. Boys, I recommend, as usual, Daf Yomi only lasts for very short periods of time. In the middle of today's daf, we're going on to a brand new, different sugya completely. But I do recommend to try to wrap our heads around the sugya of Trumas and Maisras and Azmana. It's a little bit more complicated than usual, but it's not that difficult. So yesterday we were discussing, I changed the chart around a little bit. Excuse me. When you have produce, you are chayiv to take trumas and maisras. You have to give 2% to a kohen and 10% to Levi. That's all we need to remember for now. But you don't have to do that until you have these two conditions. That it's completed, gemar malacha. So if you have raisins, you have grapes that are going to be raisins, you don't have to give the trumas and maisras until they are complete raisins. And they need to see the face of your house. They need to go into your house. You can't even put it through the skylight. You need to come through the front door. Then you are chayiv. Before that, midiraisa, you're not chayiv. Now, midirabanan, ma'is midirabanan, even you're chayiv in ma'isra, even before gemar malacha. According, we're going to see machlokes today. This is in Shittas Rebbe Eliezer. And one of these four things could make it usher to eat the food. So if you have a pile of fruit, and it doesn't have these two things, gemar malacha and rias pnei habayis, you can nibble on it. You could just take snacks. You could grab one olive. You could eat a grape. But if you designated it for Shabbos, you can no longer eat it like that. It's usher to eat b'achilas aray. And if it was sold, that makes it kavua. And if it went into your chutzner, that's a whole different thing. It's not 100% accurate that it's one of these four, but let's just call it chutzner. It's in your courtyard. It makes it kavua. You can no longer nibble on it. And if somebody takes the 2% truma, the top one right over here, truma, you give 2% to the kohen. So even though you didn't do step number 2, which is 10% to the Levi, nevertheless, you cannot nibble on it. You just made it kavua, you made it chayiv v'maisros. That's what we're going to be discussing today. So Rav Nachman comes along, and he's the one that said yesterday that Shabbos, right over here, the red box, Shabbos creates a kvios, creates the food becomes, if you say that this food is designated for Shabbos, like those children that took the figs and hid them for Shabbos, that makes it usher to eat temporarily. You have to take trumas and maisros. And his son, Mar Zutra, yesterday, tried to prove it from our Mishnah. You see that Shabbos is Kiveh, and the Gemara said, no, it's not Shabbos. What is Kiveh in our Mishnah? His speaking. When he points at the food and says, these are raisins, I'm going to be eating them tomorrow, that's what makes it Kavua. It's not the Shabbos, it's not the day that happened to be. It doesn't do with Shabbos. Even the Gemara says, so then talk about a weekday. The Gemara answers that. Okay. Now, says the Gemara, top word. How could you tell me that by pointing at food without touching it, you take it from something that you're allowed to eat as is, nibble on it, take a snack from it, and you just say a word, and that changes everything. What did you say? You said, I'm going to eat it tomorrow. And that makes it kavua. That can't be. Why? Because if I show you that Rebbe Eliezer says that even if he did a maisa, he did something with his hands, he grabbed it, it's not kavua. So certainly, if he said something with his mouth, words are nothing compared to action. If he takes action, it doesn't become kavua. You could still nibble on it. Where do we see it? Now, what if you take a bunch of grapes, take a pile of grapes, you start eating from them. And then you have in mind, if I have anything left over, I'm going to put it right back in the basket. That's what we do, right? You take a bunch of left over. That creates a situation where it's still temporary. It's not kavua, it's all right. You see Rebbe Eliezer, the one that we're talking about. If I'm able to return it to the pile, then it never becomes permanent. Why? Because it shows his intent. If his intent is that whatever is left over, I'm going to put right back to where it came from, then I'm not making it kavua. I never made it kavua. When I took it out, I didn't make it kavua. What? Right there, whatever, yeah. No. No, not if you do. Not if you say, okay, let's go. Ask Kashas later. This not send the Mishnah. If somebody takes olives from a vat, here's a vat. Now this, what do you think this is? Gemar malacha, not gemar malacha. This is not gemar malacha. It's not finished product. You put it in the vat, says Rashi, because the heat of these olives, they heat each other up in the vat, they make it softer, and now it's easier to press. It's far from the finished product. So you grab an olive from the vat, which is not nigmar malachtoi, you can grab one at a time, temporary eating, and he could eat it. They take out the word asara. Asara is not important here. It could be two, more than one. If you take out a few, couple, and you put it in front of you, now you're chayav. Oh, if the vat is tahar, so as the Gemara is going to explain in a second, if this is all tahar, I can't put it back. Because I'm tamei, I can't put it back. So therefore, it just became the fact that I took it out made it permanent. If I can't return it, it's permanent. So then I have to take trumas and maisrus. Minamaton tamei potter. If this whole vat is tamei, so I could return it. So I'm going to return it. So the fact that I took it out didn't make it permanent. It was temporary. Potter. So the Gemara's question is, if Rebbe Eliezer holds that even if I took it with my hand, I can put it back, I don't have to take trumas and maisrus. So certainly if I said, I'm going to eat those, I just pointed at it, of course, you don't have to take trumas and maisrus. If I took action, I took it and I put it on a plate, and I'm eating from them, I don't have to take trumas and maisrus. So if I just say, I'm going tomorrow to put it on a plate and eat from them, of course I don't have to take trumas and maisrus. Now the Gemara just continues. What's going on here? If the man himself is tahar, so then why can't he return it? If everything is tahar, why can't he return it to the vat? And then if he could return it to the vat, then why is it considered permanent? It's the only temporary. He's going to return it in a second. So the Gemara says a simple answer. We are talking about, the answer is that we're talking about a person that's tamei. That's the bottom line. We are talking about all cases, a person is tamei. Do not lose me, Rabbi Isai. This is geschmacky stuff. The vat is tar, the person is tamei, but we're talking about a person that's tamei. And Mimela, since the vat is tar and the person is tamei, whatever is in his hand is tamei. So he cannot return it to the vat. He's going to make everything in the vat tamei. Asks Rashi, but when he was tamei, he took it out, so he made everything around the tamei, whatever he touched. You have to remove those. You can't return to the vat. Yes, we're still talking about the same tamei person, but the vat is tamei. So since the vat is tamei, you can return it to the vat, and therefore is achila zarai. Says the Gemara. So therefore, certainly the question remains. So then what about us? Certainly in our Mishnah that he just said, look at our Mishnah. What's the first words in the Mishnah? Daf Lamed Daled Om Daled, all the way in the bottom. A person standing there and pointing at the grapes. Erev Shabbos of Shvi he's just going to say it. And he designates it with his saying. Says Gemara, no raya. Because our Mishnah is talking about that the person is tamei and everything else is tar, and since he cannot return it because he's tamei, that creates a kvius. But maybe we don't have a raya to anything else. That Shabbos is kiveh, this is kiveh. Just the fact that he removed it and he can't, but he didn't remove it, right? What happened in our Mishnah? He didn't remove anything, he just pointed at it. That's the Gemara's question. You can't return it. Again, here's the picture. In case you need to. This is the Mishnah. Here's a guy, he stands and he's pointing at all the grapes and he's saying, these grapes I'm going to eat tomorrow, and that creates, because he cannot return the grapes here to the pile, so the grapes that he took with his mouth are kavua. So as the Gemara, he didn't take anything. They're there. What's the whole problem? The problem is, if I take grapes out and I cannot return them, so I just made them kavua. They became a permanent food. But over here, he never took them. He never returned them. He doesn't have to do anything. He just pointed at them. And of course, Rebbe Lezer holds that if he could return them, right? What does Rebbe Lezer hold? If he could return them, then they're not kavua. It's temporary. So over here, he doesn't have to return them, so that it's temporary. What do you say? You're right. Good kasha. Elo Omar Rav Shimi Barashi Rebbe Lezer. Oh, you're talking about Rebbe Lezer? It could be, says the Gemara, the Mishnah actually means that Shabbos is keveya. So where are we? Right over here. Maybe, I don't have it right. Maybe Shabbos creates a kvius. If you say that this food is for Shabbos, like those girls, those kids, I don't know, girls, the kids that put tinoikois, the kids that take the figs and they put it in the, they say this is for Shabbos, they designated it, that becomes kavua, it's permanent, and you have to take trumas and meisers. You cannot nibble on it. However, Mar Zutra, the son of Rav Nachman, wanted to prove from our Mishnah, like his father, like a good son, he wants to say my father is right, Rav Nachman is right. The what? That if you have fruit that's loy nigmar malachtoi, remember that was the whole question yesterday. Grapes that are semi-finished, they're in a pile, I'm drying them out to be raisins. Could Shabbos come along and create a kvius on those grapes? Is Shabbos powerful enough to take fruit that's not really edible and say, no, this is kavua and you can't nibble on it? So Mar Zutra wanted to prove it from our Mishnah, and the Gemara says you can't prove anything from the Mishnah. Why? Because this is Rebbe Eliezer. Rebbe Eliezer the Tamei Domar Truma Kava. Look, one of the 4 boxes here is Truma. Truma is like Shabbos. Truma has the power to make fruit kavua, permanent. How? If you take 2% of the fruit and you give it to a kayan, now it becomes permanent. Don't say, oh, but you didn't take the 10% and give it to the Levi. Too bad. Once you started the process, it's like selling it. It's like you did something to the fruit, even though it's 2%. Truma, by the way, Midai is 1 grain. 1 tiny grain is truma. Once you do that, it becomes kavua. So don't prove from the Mishnah that it's the Shabbos that made it kavua. That it's this box. Maybe it's this box. Maybe that's what happened. He did truma. The Kolchkin Shabbos. And certainly Shabbos, if truma does it, Shabbos would for sure make kvius. Why? Because the karosel Shabbos einig. There's no such thing as a temporary eating on Shabbos. When you eat on Shabbos, it's zaftig, it's geschmack, it's a real su'uda, and it makes it a kavua. And Chachamim argue on both of these things. They say not Shabbos and not Truma. The Snan, perish Truma, not Shalom Nigmar Melachton. If you took Truma before the grapes became raisins, Rebbe Lezer Eiser, here he is. This box right over here, Truma creates a kvius. Asur, it's asur to nibble on it. That's what we're talking about now. Can you nibble on these fruits? The Chachamim, Rebbe Lezer Eiser Lechamim Arai, the Chachamim Matirim. Fine. Tashma Meseifa. Now, this is sort of a freebie. I just explained. I'll explain. Shabbos is much stronger than Truma because Shabbos, every food that you eat on Shabbos makes it a kvios. Thanks for asking. As I said yesterday, Rashi points out two things. If you designate the fruit like those kids did, they said this is designated for Shabbos. Because it's for Shabbos, it becomes kavua forever and ever. Because every food, but not only that, says Rashi, as I mentioned yesterday, even food that wasn't designated for Shabbos, if you're sitting in Shabbos, you cannot take trumas and mais. You can't eat from it because if you eat from it, that achila is kavua. Everything you eat on Shabbos is kavua. You take a little piece of herring on Shabbos, that makes it kavua. After Shabbos, we'll go right back to being arai. That's the word over there. If you don't designate it, you're not a child that designated or an adult that designated, on that particular Shabbos would be asur. On Sunday it's already mutter. If you did designate it, then even on Sunday it becomes asur to nibble on it because it's already kavua. The boys say we're almost done with the sugya. Don't worry about it. Tashmam is seifa. And now I'm saying it's a freebie because it's literally everything we learned. We're going to do a chazara. The Gemara is just now bringing a raya from Chachamim, not from Rabbi Eliezer. Why? Because what happened when the Gemara tried this kasha on Rabbi Eliezer? We said, well, maybe dibur doesn't work. If a maisa doesn't work, so certainly dibur doesn't work. Remember, we had this question. If I could prove to you that Rabbi Eliezer holds that if I take action, I take a bunch of grapes, put it on a plate, it does nothing to the grapes, I'm allowed to nibble on them tomorrow because I could put it back into the pile. But Chachamim don't hold that. Chachamim hold that you cannot put it back in the pile. It does become kavua. So I don't have that answer that I had before. Memela, I'm going to go through the whole sugya and prove everything again. This is Mar Zutra being stubborn, sort of, trying to prove his father right. Tashma, Meseifa. You remember this picture? This Chachamim. Chachamim say, if I could take a certain area of my grapes and say, this is what I want to eat, because they don't hold the brera, they don't hold a retroactive clarification. So Mela, I have to be very specific. These are the grapes that I'm going to eat, not something in this pile. These particular grapes. If I could do that, then it's hazmana, then I'm designating it, and it's not muktzah anymore. Now, if you look at the top words, the first words in the Amud Aleph, what does it say? Erev Shabbos b'Shvius. We're talking about Shemitah, a Friday on a Shemitah year. And that's exactly the sugi we had yesterday. Taima, freebie. Not a Bryce and a Mishnah like that person thought Freebie means that we already did the sugya, we're going to do it again as a chazara. So it's easier. Taima der Shabbos b'Shvius. The Mishnah says a case of Friday in a Shemitah year. The Lav Bar Suri. What's significant about Shemitah? There's no Meiser in Shemitah. Why is there no Meiser in Shemitah? Because Chayas Asada. You're like an animal. Animals don't bring... So Shemitah also no Meiser. But the rest of the 6 years of the Shemitah cycle, you do take Meiser. The fruit is Osir. My time, says Mar Zutra, here's my araya to my father. Mishum the Shabbos kava. Because the Shabbos, right over here, it has the power to make fruit osir to eat temporary. Loi, that's not the reason. Shani Osam, Kivin the Omer Mikan Vat Kan, Ani Oichel Lemachar, since he pointed out, I'm eating this part of the pile. Kavale. That's what was keveyat. Remember the same answer that we had yesterday. Yesterday we said it's his mouth, and today we're saying it's an area but that's keveyat. That makes it permanent, whereas it's not like you're thinking that it's the Shabbos that makes it permanent. Something else makes it permanent. Then why does the Mishnah say the first word? We're talking about Shabbos here. Why? Why Shabbos? A Tuesday afternoon. I feel the b'chol nami. And this was the last line on the Amud. That was the line that kept me up late at night. Actually, I went to sleep late, but I had to get up super early because I was nervous. I didn't think I had this line correct. And there's a big long Rashi here, but it wasn't that difficult. The Tevel Muchanu Eitzel Shabbos. Shem Ovar v'tiknoi metukon. That the Gemara asks, as we explained yesterday. What is it doing in our Masechta? What is this? This is a case for Mesechtes Maisrus, when you take Meiser, when you don't take Meiser, could I nibble on fruit that's arai or not? When we get to Maisrus, we're not even going to get there. It's not in the cycle, really. It's a Mishnayos. Why is it in Mesechtes Beitzah, which discusses, at least over here, the concept of muktzah and azmana, is it designated or not designated? Says, you're right. It doesn't really belong here. But I'm telling you another chiddush. I'm telling you a chiddush from the wording of the Mishnah. You see that the Mishnah is not concerned about muktzah. It's not a problem. In other words, we'll do chazara. When it comes to muktzah machmas isser, if I could remove that isser, because the isser is only an isser d'Rabbanan, then it goes away. The isser to take trumas and maisrus on Shabbos is only with the Rabbanan. But the Reis, I'm allowed to take trumas and maisrus. Therefore, if you have an individual, a bad guy, who took trumas and maisrus on Shabbos, then it's not muktzah anymore. That's what you see from our Mishnah. The Mishnah doesn't discuss muktzah. Otherwise, it should have said a lashon of muktzah, says Rashi. It's not a problem with muktzah. Why? Like we explained. There is no muktzah, because you would think anything that Shabbos starts out with, if Shabbos starts out, this product I cannot use. Why can't I use this fruit? Because Rabbanan don't let me take trumas and maisrus on it. So Mamela, this apple is going to be also the entire Shabbos. No. If I'm over on the Rabbanan, and I do take trumas and maisrus from the apple, I'm allowed to eat it on Shabbos. That's the chiddush. It's not muktzah anymore. That's all I want to tell you. That's why I told you a case of Shabbos. You're right, the whole case fits on Tuesday also. If a person says to himself, I am going to eat these fruits on a Tuesday afternoon, I can no longer nibble from it. But I'm going to tell you another chiddush, that if he did it on Shabbos, and somebody went ahead and he removed the trumas and maisrus, then I could eat it. It's not muktzah anymore. Big chiddush. What? No, you can't do it on Shabbos. If you have to infer from it, you have to infer.
Why not see explicit? That's the whole finish the Mishnah here.
Yeah. Well, then you have that question on every single Mishnah in Shas.
This is very
almost. Yeah, the whole Shas is beremes. Well, let's look at it a different way. This is the pshat in the Mishnah, and the Gemara shows you how I got to that pshat. It's not like you can think like you. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, I come up with a tremendous chiddush. Oh, it's talking about this in this case. No, when they learned the Mishnayos, they learned the Mishnah with this final pshat. It's like a chesuri mechsera. People make a mistake. Oh, what, the Mishnah forgot words? No, this is how they learned the Mishnah in those days. I'm trying to explain to you how you, in 2021, need to understand how they got to that. They knew this. This is how it was. This is how the rabbeim said. We're talking about a case and there's no muktzah and Shabbos. You get it, guys? Yeah, we get it. But why? How? So it goes through all the steps. It asks you questions back and forth until, that's the style of the Gemara. Until we get to that thing. It's not like, oh, chiddush. Oh, in 2021 we came up, maybe the Mishnah is talking about this. No, that was when Rebbe wrote the Mishnah, that's how he taught us Talmidim. That is the chiddush there. And we're just going through the steps to show that's not something else.
I think more than that. I think it's coming to saying you or Nachman want to prove something radical.
Right.
This Mishnah, you can't be raya. It has to be rock solid.
It's true. That's also true. Because, exactly. You know what? Noam is a lot more right than I am in this case. The Gemara is saying, Mar Zutra is trying to prove a point from the Mishnah. And the Gemara says, your point is not solid because I could always push it off. I could say the Mishnah is talking about Truma. Maybe it's, who told you? It's the Shabbos that makes it Kviyas. Maybe it's Truma. Well, it doesn't say anything in the Mishnah Truma. But it's a way to push them off. Say, your ray is not solid. You might be right. You might be wrong. You might be this. You might be that. You want to bring a ray, you need to be 100% sure. And maybe the whole point of the Mishnah is not that Shabbos is Kiveya, but that there's no muktzah. Something like that. Anyway.
It's going to be, it's not explicit. Okay, I can deal with that. But don't come and give me some radical.
No one's right. This is a case where you push off a guy with nothing because his ray is not so great because you could always say this, you could always say that, you can wiggle away. When you can wiggle out of it, then it's not a good ray. A guy had a thing of grapes, and he starts eating these grapes. What are these grapes? This is an interesting thing. We don't know this. But Rashi says, this is not Gemar Malacha. This looks beautiful. You know why this is not Gemar Malacha? Because these are designated for wine. Why do people, nobody eats grapes in those days? It's not a thing. This is for wine. People, they couldn't drink water, Rabbi Schoenberg once explained. There's no filtration, right? So everything, you could die from drinking water. Water is a problem, right? Something like that. So everything is about wine. There's wine, that's why they always drink wine. Alcohol did something good to the germs over there. They knew it. So Mela, this is not Gemar Malacha. Okay, so you're eating from these grapes. Oh, check it out. He walked by mistake from his garden into his courtyard. And guess what courtyard does? It's one of the 4 things that make food kavua. You walk through it, boom, just by walking through it. It's magic. Rebbe Lezer says, not a problem. It doesn't create anything. So keep on eating. Rebbe Yeshua lo yigmar. Rebbe Yeshua says, no, the chatzar made a kavua. You're not allowed to nibble now on these grapes. Another halach, very similar. Now, all of a sudden, this magic happened. This box, it became Shabbos. And you're eating the grapes. Rebbe Lezer yigmar, same thing. Rebbe says Shabbos doesn't make kviyos. Rebbe Yeshua made lo yigmar. So the Gemara says, so over here you see, Rebbe Yeshua holds that Shabbos is not koiveya with something. You're trying to prove to me that Shabbos makes a kviyos on food when it's not nigmar malachtoi. And where my grapes, these grapes are not nigmar malachtoi, over here Rebbe Lezer says, Shabbos is not koiveya. Continue eating on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, you didn't understand. It doesn't mean continue eating on Shabbos. It means continue eating on Matzah Shabbos. Again, who told you this is a good raya? Maybe it's not a good raya. Maybe it's talking about Matzah Shabbos. Why? This is big chiddush. This became kavua on Shabbos. We had that before with the Matzah Shabbos. It's not kavua anymore. It could go from kavua to aray, from permanent food to temporary food where I could nibble on it. Wow, we're running out of time here. Unbelievable. We could always finish on Matzah Shabbos. It's a tougher sugya. But you know what? I'm serious. From the Mishnah, from the new Perek, it's a breeze. It's mamish. Yeah. Huh? I won't let you ask the question because it's you. You know what? That's my nephew, Rabbi Shlomo. What? No, Rabbi Shua's mechulik on Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Shua says Shabbos is kiveh. Oh, you're saying that it should only be for Shabbos. I hear. Good kasha. We have to look into it. Very good kasha. You see, Balkishin, this guy. Reb Nosson Oimer, his father's a big magachir in Ramat Ben Shemesh also. It's a big. I don't want to say anything. He's coming to my shin at his father's it's politics. Reb Nosson Oimer like Shamar. What? Lama? Oh, you like to get up early. Okay, I get it. Reb Nosson Oimer, but you have stuff to do. Like Shamar Reb Lezer Yigmar, Bechatzi Yigmar. It doesn't mean that you should finish it in the courtyard. If you're in the courtyard, it's also teeth. Step out of the courtyard. Shabbos, but Shabbos is kaveya maybe. So again, you don't have it right. Maybe Shabbos does create a permanent fruit, but once it's Matzah Shabbos, it's temporary, and that's what he meant. Eat it Matzah Shabbos. But again, Yisrael, it's only I could push it off like that, but maybe not. Now, Rabbi Yochanan is mechulik on these 4 boxes. Rabbi Yochanan says that if it's not a finished product, like these grapes that are not finished, then these are not kveya. Not like Rabbi Lezer that says that each one of these boxes creates a kviyos. Rabbi Yochanan says no. All these 4, only if the fruit is completed. Shabbos, he says, he argues on Hillel. The Tanya, Hama'amer, if somebody gathers pears, you have to be goyers here. In other words, to spread it out. If somebody's gathering fruit from one place to another, this Shabbos. Shabbos comes in, does Shabbos make fruit kavua? Hillel's all by himself, the whole world argues on him. He says, Aser, me Rabbi Yochanan, I argue on Hillel. We don't have time to get into Tosfos here. Tosfos says, why don't you bring Rebbe Eliezer? I wanted to talk about Tosfos because Rebbe Eliezer is the famous Shamuti, the famous story that they put him in Chayrim, even though he's the Gal Adar, but since everybody argued on him, they put him in Chayrim for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, he was Nifter B'Chayrim, and that's why we never pass him like Rebbe Eliezer. Daf Yomi Amud Beis. Sponsored by the MDY Tehillim group. For all those in Refuas and Yeshuos, please join us at thelightmandav.com. Sponsored by Natan Khoshnood. For schos, for my children, I kolev, and Yitzchak Ben Gila should do well in Eretz Yisrael, chesed for Torah, mitzvois, Yerushalayim. Chotzer. Where Rabbi Yochanan says chotzer does not make kfiyus lapukim in the Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov says it does. It's not. Hamav retaining bechotzer. Liktois. Here, he puts down, interesting picture. He puts out his figs to dry them out, and I noticed that this is on our type of schach that we have. The schach that we use, these mats, here it is. I don't know why. Kacha. We had this the other day. So his children are allowed to nibble on them, eat them as snacks. Rabbi Yaakov, no, Rabbi Yaakov says it's also to eat. You have to take Trumas and Meisers. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Poiter. So here's Rabbi Yochanan arguing Rabbi Yaakov. Truma. What's the case with Truma? Lapukin the Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer. The San says in the Mishnah. If you take fruit before it is finished, Rabbi Eliezer says you're not allowed to eat a snack from it. Fine. If you took Truma, you didn't do Meiser, you just took the 2% before the Gemar Malacha, Rabbi Eliezer says that's enough. So that's one of the 4 cases. Mekach, what's the case of selling? If you buy fruit from an Amoritz, classic, Amoritz. What's an Amoritz? Somebody that's not so careful, take Trumas and Meisers. Most people take and press these figs, something like this, let's say, press them and make a igule dvela. Remember you, that's what I should have searched for. Igule dvela. Now maybe I'll find it. Very interesting halacha. Even though you bought it from an Amoret, you're allowed to eat snack. Ma'asrim d'mai means d'mai is a combination of 2 words. Da mai. I have a suffix what this is, so I'm going to take Trumas and Meisers. In other words, it's very likely that the Amorets took Trumas and Meisers. But you don't have to take Truma. Truma, Amoritz always takes Truma. It's very little, it's only 2%. They're makbid on that. They're not so makbid on Meiser. So Shema Mino Tlas says the Gemara, I can learn 3 things from this halacha. Shema Mino Mekachenu Kivas Elo B'Dav Shenigim Malachtoi. You see from here, even though he bought it, he could still nibble on it. Why? Because the actual transaction doesn't create a kvios. You see from here that the fact that you don't have to take real Trumas and Meisers is because it's only D'mai that you have to take. Because an Amar typically does take Trumas and Meisers. And we had that all over. But it's a big zera of Chachamim, like a far out chashash. Shema Mirah. Masrim D'mai Ma'me'oretz, afilu b'dav shel nigim melachto, you take Meiser from D'mai even though it wasn't finished, like in our case. Ula pukim ha'adisnan, hamachlev peiros im chaveroi. Says Rashi, when you barter with your friend, I give you figs and he gives me pomegranates, that's considered mekach. That's the case of mekach. Zelecho, they both want to eat it right away. Or zeliktos, they both want to eat it in 2 months from now after it dries out. So, but the chiyuv is right now today to take Trumas and Meisers. Zelecho, zeliktos, or one wants to eat it now, one wants to eat it later. Chayev in Trumas and Meisers. Lecho chayev, liktos potter. If it's in the future, you don't have to take Trumas and Meisers now. Okay, so it's lafuki from this title. Hadron aloha maybe. We have 1 minute to do from the Mishnah to the bottom, and that's more than enough time. The official Mishnah is sponsored by official who's an unbelievable tzaddik who's giving out hundreds and hundreds. He's probably up to 700 Gemaras now, including the 475 and our guys that are getting free Gemaras. So we're holding there. By the way, there's 100 Gemaras, art scrolls, stuck in Meches, and if anybody knows Meches, Shloimy Klein, unbelievable tzaddik, running to the airport with hundreds of Gemaras because they're stuck in Meches, trying to get people to take it in suitcases and v'chulu. Mashilin peiros derech aruba biyantef. Unbelievable, Rabbi Isai. You could take it's a day cloudy. This morning it looked a little worse than this in Eretz Yisrael. It was kind of raining in the morning, early in the morning. Mashilin. What does the word mashilin mean? So I looked in the art scroll, and it tells me mashila means you could lower the fruit. So here you are, the rain is coming, here he has some rain, and he's worried that his fruit is going to get ruined. So he takes a broom and he starts pushing it into the hole, into the skylight, and it falls. That's a very easy thing to do. It's not a tirchi yisera, and because you're going to lose all this money, you're allowed to do so. But to lift it up and put it in the window, like Yoni depicts over here, is also, by the way, a big tzaddik from the shir contacted me. How do I get a hold of Yoni? I want to buy a ton of mishnais from him. I want to show him Akar Satoiv that he's allowing us this, and I want to say, I send him a letter of Akar Satoiv. People, mamish, unbelievable. Avaloi b'Shabbos. You can't do this on Shabbos. It's too much for Shabbos. Umechasim peiros b'kelim, and you can cover if rain comes in mipnei adelef because you have a little bit of a leak in the house. Nebuch, you're allowed to cover things that will get ruined. V'chein kadiyam kadishemen. If you have barrels of wine, the same exact thing. And to catch the water coming off the ceiling on Shabbos, says the Gemara. Now, I just want to show you this whole sugya in 10 seconds. It's mamish the easiest thing in the world. This is what it says. Mashilin peiros derech haruba b'yantav, says the Gemara. I'm not kidding. You could either say mashilin, you could say mashchilin. It's the same exact thing. It means to lower. Or you can say mashirin, or you can say mashchirin, or manchirin. That is the whole sugya. Is that easy enough? That's the sugya. It could be the word mashchilin. You're not confusing it. It's the same word. Your owl is going to fall. If you use the word mashchilin, this not hashachol v'akosel. One of the things by a b'char mum is if his hip is displaced, so it means that this thigh fell down. So it's a lashon of lowering. Shachol shenishmato yerechoi kosel shechem yerechaisav goyim mechaverta. It's a mum that one of his thighs is higher than the other. All right, now it's like man detanim mashirin lemishtabish, uman detanim mashchirin lemishtabish. You could even say mashchirin. Uman detanim manchirin lemishtabish, and even manchirin. Why is it a lotion of falling? This not you're not allowed to rub your hair with dirt because your hair will fall out, falling down. Meishir. What's this blackness? Why is that called falling? It's not a shachar, which means a razor. Vazlug shel saparim. Here, you see this? This is a normal scissor. What happens if go like that? Is this Makabel Toma? Oh, this is the best. There, where's Yeshua? He knows about this stuff. This Cutco goes right back. Mamish, unbelievable. So this, Rabbi said, one of the guys that I was talking to him yesterday. He said that someone was running after somebody with one of these yesterday. This is good. This could kill somebody. You could cut stuff with this. This Hashemush Memela, it's Makabel Toma. Vazuk shasaparim, scissors, even though they became apart. So a shachar is a razor which causes your hair to fall out. If your clothing fell into the water, that you give to the ani means it fell. Okay, Adkan. We'll start from here tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.